All right, so what I want to show you here is this is like this is the main goal. This is what we're going to be getting to. We're going to be setting up our drawings, and we're going to be modifying our drawings as we bring them in so that we can bring in each individual drawing, and then we can stack these drawings together in order to make the parts. So what we're going to be doing is creating blocks today, so when we make our blocks, we can then bring our pieces in, line them up, and using like intersections and common points, we can take our entire drawing, and we're going to make this into what we call a full section. Let me go perpendicular. All right, so that's what our drawing is going to look like when we're finished. Okay, so what we're going to be doing in class today is we're going to be starting with like the bearing, and we're going to be taking this and creating what we call a W block, and then we're going to create it and turn it into a block, and then we're going to insert it into a new drawing. So back to this right here, this is what I'm going to suggest that you either write down or pay close attention to. These are the commands. These are two new commands that you're learning today. One is W block and the other one is insert. So you have to switch over to your insert tab to find the insert. This is the insert command. And then there are two different blocks. There are two different ones. You can create a block and keep it inside of that drawing. Okay, so if you create a block, it stays inside of that particular drawing. If you make a right block, you save it and it creates a new DWG file. So that's what we're going to be doing today, is creating a new DWG file. So what I ask you to do is open up your bearing drawing, and I'm going to walk you through the process of creating a block, a W block of this part right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to model space, and I'm going to just go ahead and turn off my dimensions so they're kind of like out of the way and I don't have to see them. So I'm going to turn that off. It was my current layer, so I'm just going to go back and switch to a different layer. So now all I see is my bearing. What I want to do is I want to take that bearing and I want to just copy it over to the side. Actually, you know what? We don't even need to do that. Let's just work with it right here. If your dimensions are all turned off and you don't see anything else, then we can just make a W block of that feature right there. So let me give you just a few seconds to get caught up with me. So open your bearing drawing, turn off your dimension layer, and this is what we're looking at, is the section of your bearing. If you find something is wrong with your drawing, I don't have time right now for you to make those changes to your drawing. You'll have to come back and make those changes. So I want you to just practice this process with me first, and then I'm going to let you have the rest of the class period to work on this. So if you need to come back and fix something on your drawing after seeing my drawing, then do that afterwards, okay? All dimensions off. Ready to go? All right. So let's go over to the second ribbon called Insert, and we're going to go over here to Create Block, and we're looking for Right Block. You can also type in W block in the command line. So either W block or click on this button right here. It's going to ask you to do several things. It's going to ask you to pick a point, a base point. Now, I like to pick a base point that's common on my part. So I'm going to click on this pick point, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to pick this intersection right here as my base point. What that means is when I insert that drawing into another drawing, that's going to be the base point in which it inserts. Then I'm going to go to Select Objects. I'm going to pick on that box, and now it's going to let me draw a window or a crossing window around my entire view that I want to W block. I'm going to hit the enter button or right mouse button. And now I'm going to make sure that I save it somewhere that I can find it. So right there, that file's not where I want to save it. I'm going to have to move it out of there. So I'm going to put it back in my drive where I save all my stuff. You can put it in your Z drive. I already have a folder for the pillow block assembly. So I'm just going to call this I'm calling mine bearing. I'm going to put a 2024 behind it because I have a lot of these drawings here because I've done this multiple times. So I'm just going to call that my bearing 2024. And I'm going to hit save. So right now, after I hit OK, it saves a new drawing. So we just created a drawing from within a drawing. All right. If I go now and look at my file manager, and I look at my folder where I save that, I'm going to just do date modified. So there's my bearing 2024. So I can double click, open this, and voila, there's my drawing of, that's the bearing I just created. So that is what that block looks like. And if I needed to make a change to this prior to inserting it in my assembly, I could do it here, or I could do it on my assembly drawing. So I'm going to close out of that now. And I'm now going to start a new A-size title block. All right, so I'm going to open up a new A-size title block. I'm going to go over to my model tab. I'm going to turn the grid off. All right, so everybody agrees we created a new drawing called bearing. I'm now going to insert that bearing into my current drawing. So I'm going to use the insert insert ribbon, and then I'm going to use the insert command. It's the very first command on the left. I'm going to hit blocks from library, and it's going to prompt my little box right here, and I'm going to have to search my directory and find that file that I saved. So I saved it here, 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 and I called it bearing 24. So here it is. So it's loading. It gets in here. I'm going to double click on that, and then here is the bearing. All right, so this little button right here is the little folder. This is how you navigate through it. And then any blocks that you have in your drawing, they will appear right here. So here is the drawing that we created. Notice it's all together. It's all nested together. And you're gonna want to keep it nested together. You're not gonna want to explode it to make any changes. There is a way to edit the block when you bring it in. So let's look at editing blocks. All right. So let's go back and reference this drawing right here. I'm going to back this up a little bit so we can see what it is we want this to look like. All right. So as you can see, when this all comes together, I'm going to want this hardware to sit down in here. I don't want the line here. I don't want the line here. And I don't want the line at the top. So I'm going to have to modify my bearing drawing to make it look like this. So I'm going to go back to my my drawing. I'm on the A-size title block. I should go ahead and save this. Let me go ahead and go to File, Save As.
Should we call this?
I'm going to call it shaft bearing assembly. This is not good. My little thing is a little slow. Shaft support assembly. There we go. Sorry. I'm putting a date behind it because I have multiple files here. I need to keep up with it. As you can see, I don't know if you saw my path. When I teach the Drafting 201 class at community college, they have to do these problems as well. And if you remember, when you take Drafting 2, you get dual enrollment credit. So the same files or some of the same drawings that I teach you during the year are the same files that are required at the college level. This is one of them. So this is like getting toward the end of their semester where they learn how to build these assemblies. And for you to get that credit, you also have to do these same assemblies. So that's why this is part of your program that helps you get that credit in drafting 2. All right, so here's our part. I definitely want to go ahead and rotate that. So I'm going to use my rotate command, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. I've got it there. Now, you can see that we've got those lines that I want to edit. Are y'all with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So look, this is what you do to edit a block. You just simply double click on the block. So real quick, left double click, and it's going to pick the bearing and say okay. And now I'm going into edit mode. All right. So it's bringing the drawing in how I saved it. And now I can just go in here and make edits to it. So I want to trim. I'm gonna have to go back over to home and trim out this stuff here. So I'm gonna trim that out. I'm gonna trim this out. Double click on your box. I mean on your block. Double click on it, and then it's going to pop up with a box, and then you hit OK. Do I need to do that over? So that's how we edit it, and this is where we close the block editor. When we close it, we say to save the changes, and then it updates. So I'll update it. I'll do it again. So if I forget something, I can just double click, click. I find the drawing. It's bearing 2024, hit OK, and then it goes straight into edit mode. Okay, so I trimmed out my pieces, and then I can hit OK, and then it updates. So the next thing I would do is I would continue doing this for all of my pieces. So I would go into the collar drawing, and I would do the same thing. Switch over to Model tab, turn off the dimension layer, and make a block of this view right here. So I'm going to go a little bit faster on this because it's the same process. And I'll save this video to where you can watch it back. Oops, not insert. W block. Pick points. I'm picking the point where I want it to insert. I want to select objects. I'm going to draw a window around everything I want to bring into my drawing. Right click, and then I'm going to locate where I save it. So this time it went in the right folder. So this is going to be called Collar 2024. Save it. Okay. So going back to my assembly drawing, I'm going to go back to insert. Blocks from library. I'm going to come over here to my folder, find this collar, hit open. Here it comes. Click on it, drop it in there, and now I'm going to rotate that. So you do have to switch back, you know, with your ribbons. So I'm going to rotate that, and then I'm going to move it and set it on this, from this intersection to this intersection right here. And that puts that bearing on there. Now, when I get to this point, you can see my section lines are like at the same direction. We always want to change the direction of section lines. We don't want to have section lines lined up the exact same. So this one's going to the left, this one's going to the right, this one, ooh, that one should have been going to the left. So let's fix that. I will go back over here and I can change my bearing again. So I'm going to double click on this. Edit my bearing. And now I'm going to edit my hatch lines. And I want to rotate the angle 180 degrees. And that changes it. So close the hatch editor and then close the block editor. I want to make sure those are on the right layer. It is on the right section lines.
Wait, how did you change the direction?
So if I double click on the hatch, hold on. Right, hatch editor. Right here, there's an angle, and you can type in the angle right here. So I want to close the hatch editor first, because that's what I'm editing. And then I want to close the block editor, because that's me editing the actual block. So I hit OK, save those changes. And did I just change that the wrong way? I think it's supposed to be 90.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Let's go back and do it again. Double click. Change that to 90, not 180. 90. Close hatch editor. Close block editor. Save the changes. And voila. All right. So the base plate is the last thing, the last drawing you're going to be bringing in. And then you also have the cap screws, which I gave you instructions on the last lesson. So if you don't have those downloaded yet, you can go look at the last lesson and look for instructions on how to download the cap screw. You're not drawing those, you can just download them. And then we're going to stack all of this together. All right. So I'm going to let you finish that up and get each one of those things lined up, and that's what I need for you to do first.